Good evening, everyone. This is Davy Jones from WQEL and WBCO with the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremonies telecast on Crawford County Now YouTube page. We are brought to you in part by Daryl Swinehart and David Green at Ag Credit Bucyrus, Andy Shutt at Shutt Brothers Sales, Steve and Josh Stanek, Attica Lumber, Jim Sprang, Tom Brown, Sprang Capital Management, Bob and Todd Nye Builders since 1946, Terry Gribble at your Galleon Community Center YMCA, Joe Klein and everybody at the Galleon offices of First Federal Bank of Ohio, Mike Klaus at Klaus and Associates Uptown Galleon, Sweet Baby Ray Jones at Ohio Door and Sash Galleon, Doug Ludhole and Adam Weisner at Advanced Fiber Technology, John and Darlene Haynes along with Michelle Moser at JDM Surplus, West Livingston Avenue Crestline, Mike Kleinite, Ag Credit Residential Lending, Bucyrus, Marion, Mount Gilead, Craig and Marilyn Miley at Craig A. Miley Realty and Auction, Galleon and Bucyrus, Attorney John Andrew Mauder, Hannah Newton at Wendy's, Bucyrus and Upper Sandusky, Washington Auto Parts, your Napa dealer now in their new location on East Mansfield Street, and Larry Milliron and Bob Henderson at the House of Investments, West Church Street at Portland Way North in Galleon. Ladies and gentlemen, I turn it over to our Master of Ceremonies. Here is Ralph Balvette.
Thank you, Davey. This is I will say welcome to you, but this is not the official welcome. Don has the official welcome. Okay? Now we're not going to pray again, but I do want to introduce the head table. Okay, to my immediate left, we have Chris Johnson, son of Dr. Mike Johnson, inductee. And next to Chris, we have Coach Chuck Huggins of the 1995 Colonel Crawford softball team. And then at my far left, down on the end,
Kell.
okay, we have Don Kell. Now, this is not the Don Kell that says deceased in your program. Okay, he's very much alive. This is Don Kell, the inductee's son. And next to Don, we have Tom Kell, the inductee Don Kell's brother. And then we have Brady Wigson, and at his right we have Jim Wigson. Okay. And then we have Peyton Moyer.
Raise your hand, Pete.
You guys switched on me. Travis, you did that, didn't you? All right, which one is seated to the left of you?
This is Tyler.
That is Tyler. Okay, Tyler is going to be one of the presenters. And Caleb, which one's Caleb? Raise your hand. Caleb is going to be another presenter. And Peyton, which one's Peyton?
Right there.
Right there. He is going to be a presenter also for Travis. And then next to the little guy, we have a big guy, Travis Moyer, an inductee. And I do want to introduce, at least recognize, Travis's beautiful wife, Erin. Raise your hand, Erin. Because we all know behind every successful man is a good woman. You did very well, Travis. Okay. And then we have President Don Miller. wish we were saying that for our country. I think we might do better. Okay, Don is the president of the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame, and he has some words to share, and also he is the president of Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame. Don?
Okay, thank you. I have a lot of things written down here, but I'm going to vary from that just a little bit. I certainly welcome you all to our induction ceremony and bring this group of fine athletes and a good doctor into our hall. And again, I want to emphasize to you before you leave, if you haven't, check our Straley room, which is right opposite the office there, just down the hall, has all the references of all the people that are in our Hall of Fame. They're all in a plaque, much like you see the one that's sitting up there today. That one will be placed in the room right next to the 2018. So those things are very important, because I know Bucyrus is doing all this centennial stuff, but the county itself is something for us to be proud of. And making our athletes and people that work with our athletes members of our hall, we hope to continue the success and the history of Crawford County. As a hall, we started first class in 2009. So you see where we are. We're behind, by the way, as you notice from your program. These programs were to be used in October or November of last year. But we, like every other organization, got shut down quickly. So we will have another one of these induction ceremonies in March, trying to catch up with where we need to be. As far as the hall is concerned, we give scholarships to individual athletes each year, and I'd like to let you know that we've given $27,000 in scholarships already this year, this organization. Now the thing I want to talk about, that's all stuff I said last year. We need some people to help run this organization. Somebody who's interested in athletics, somebody perhaps who's retired, like some of us, like all of us, as a matter of fact, that will be in our committees. Well, we got one that isn't, that's right, Patty. I'm sorry, Patty, you're still working. But we need help. And if any of you or you know someone who might be interested, this takes about 10 meetings a year. That's about all. It isn't something that, boy, you're going to be asked to do and you just don't have time. It's not that. It's the fact that for 12 years, well, for 16 years, when we first started, the same officers have been officers there and are still there. So we'd appreciate it very much. If any of you would be interested, or you know someone that would, please give their name at the table up there. And also, there are applications for entrance to our hall. And I'd like to show you. People say, well, gee, I know somebody. Okay, nominate them. Here's our group right here. And we have this list up there at the table also. And this is a list of people that we're going to vote on in December to put in our next group. So there's still time to put nominations in. We have a meeting December, the very first day in December, and we'll choose 6 more, either 5 athletes in one team or 6 athletes to go in March. So that's coming up. But our room back here, we leased for 99 years. And we paid the Trillium Company a good amount of money for that, knowing that if for some reason they cease to exist, we get certain parts of our money back. But it's something that, as a group, that I stand and wish to thank the people that work for this organization, because I can't tell you how much they do themselves, and we need help. So I'm asking, and so do that. And there are applications up there at the table. If you know somebody should be in here, well, my gosh, let's get it down. And the application has changed, because we used to have something like 10 years you had to be out before you could be considered. Well, that's changed to 5. That's changed to 5 years. So now you understand that you can go that direction. To finalize what I have to say is, I have to thank the local paper and the radio station. As you've seen, they're here, Johnny on the spot, to help us. The special occasions have been our caterers from the very first banquet we've ever had. A1 Printing, there's your programs. We think our programs are pretty nice, and there's your programs. Trophy House, under new management this year now. Dean is gone, and they take care of all our trophies, all our plaques. Ralph Balvette, who you met tonight, has been our master of ceremonies year after year after year, and does that for us. So those people all give us energy to go ahead and do this work. I want to also thank the members. So members of the Crawford County Board of Health, please stand. I know they don't want to. Come on, there's 3 of you down there. There's some here, some here. Thank you. Thank you. Other than that, I'm really interested in hearing what these people have to say about their induction into the Crawford County Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Don. One other person I would like to recognize is Dan Messerschmidt, Sports Director and Editor from WQEL. Where are you, Dan? Okay. Thank you very much for all you do. Okay, down in the induction ceremony part, in the lower portion of the front page of your program, J.C. Amon was unable to be here tonight. We sent him congratulations, and I encourage you to read on page 5 all of his accomplishments at Colonel Crawford High School. And we wish you were here. Okay, so the first presenter we're going to have is Chris Johnson, the son of inductee Dr. Mike Johnson, deceased. And I'm going to ask all of you that are coming up here to speak, just walk around the back. The stairs are on the left-hand side, my left.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking the people with the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame for all the work to put this on. Obviously, this one has been more work than many because it's been rearranged multiple times. And I had nothing to do with the health department telling you when you could or couldn't have this, just so you know. And just a little words about the inductees. Brady, sorry I didn't get a chance to watch you. I don't have anything to harass you about, so you're lucky there. Yeah, you're lucky there. JC, I guess, could not be here, but I had a couple years younger than JC and got to watch him play his whole career. And anybody that did was lucky to get to watch him. He was one of the toughest competitors I've ever seen. and one of the toughest guys that you could be around. But yet the fact that he's not here tonight tells you he's very humble and would never seek out any acknowledgement. So I just want to give some props to JC. Funny that I never got to play against JC, but I did get to play against Don Kell. Now you may think, well, that's odd. How'd you get to play against Don but not JC? Well, Don and Tom used to come into open gym and whip on us. Now, I don't know how old they were at the time. We were young, so everybody seemed old. They seemed very old, but they still beat us. They beat up on us. So I did get to play against Don and Tom. And Donnie, of course, was there with me getting beat on by these guys. Travis, man, I have a lot of stories, Travis. Aaron has a picture of me and Travis during a basketball game, and it's unfortunately a couple frames too early. So Travis is going up to shoot it, and I'm behind him, going to block it. And if she would have got it, or if whoever captured this would have been a little later, I think Travis either dunked it or laid it over the rim, and then I went up behind him, and I thought I was going to land on him, so I hung onto the rim and got a basket interference call. And if Travis, you remember it different, that feel free to share when you come up. Something like that. Anyway. So anyway, a couple stories about my dad. My dad never got to play sports. He loved sports, but never played. He worked and farmed and saved up money so he could go to college and then on to medical school. My dad was a hard-working guy. Whenever sports were on, he'd have it on the radio. So he never sat in and watched Ohio State, Michigan, or any of these other games that we were watching. But we did get him to watch one sporting event every year. I was in charge of when it's post time for the Kentucky Derby. Now, you think, well, that's odd. When he was a farmer, I guess he liked horses. But most of you probably know one of the nicknames for the Kentucky Derby is the best 2 minutes in sports. So he could take 2 minutes and come watch the Kentucky Derby and then head back out and start working some more. And that's a true story. Dad started his sports medicine when he was in residency at Ball State in Muncie, Indiana. He would drive and cover professional wrestling. So this was early 70s professional wrestling. This was real, I mean, in gymnasiums, no TV. These were guys, that were really putting on a show for fans that were live. And so these guys had a lot of injuries, a lot of dislocations, fractures, bloodied up. And that was where he kind of started with sports medicine. They didn't have the fancy camera angles and things like they have now. It's still real, of course, but they didn't have any of those cameras to help them. He did coach Little League, had some great Kiwanis teams, coached all of us. He did help. He was at least responsible, if you asked him, he was at least responsible for half of Rob Sheldon's wins at Winford, telling Rob what to do before the games. I'm sure your dad would agree with that, David. He got plenty of advice from my dad. I don't know if any of it helped, but he got plenty of advice. He ran the scores table for about 30 years at Winford boys basketball games. He didn't miss a game for 43 years that he was in the community here. 43 years of caring for athletes and their families. Many of you here, I'm sure, had some interaction. He did arranged and did the sports physicals, took care of so many injuries. Dave and I talked the other day about how we used to have flu shots. He'd show up, he'd pay for them, never charge the kids or the school. They'd line up. There was no paperwork, there was no consent forms. You just rolled up your sleeve and you were getting a flu shot. And he did that many different times, different schools. Sutures in the state tournament to Mike McGuire. So many different stories for sports events with him. This was real recently, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We showed up at a basketball game, Winford basketball tournament game, and coach comes over and says, hey, we don't have anybody here to wrap ankles, tape their ankles. And back then when he trained, you did everything. You did surgery, he delivered babies, you did everything. Well, my training's been a little bit different. Everything's specialized now. So I've wrapped a few ankles, but the athletic trainers are at every event now, and you guys that play know that there's a trainer at everything. So I'm like, well, I don't think they really want me wrapping their ankles. They might not have circulation by the time they get through the first quarter. Dad hopped up, went back there, did all the ankles, came back out and watched the game, and that's just kind of how he was. So switching gears a little bit, I don't know how many of you guys here got to watch the funeral of Colin Powell. It was very moving. Colin Powell was a leader, a true patriot. one of the greatest men in our country with how he served. So it got me to thinking, how do you measure what someone's been able to do and what they've left? And so I looked, and there's a few good quotes. Samuel Johnson, one of our founding fathers, said, "The measure of a man is how he treats someone that can do nothing for him." American author Philip Dick said, "The measure of a man is not his intelligence or how high he can rise in this freak establishment. No, the true measure of a man is this: how quickly can he respond to the needs of others, and how much of himself can he give?" And of course, we're at a Sports Hall of Fame. Ernie Banks said, "The measure of a man in the life is the measure of a man is in the lives he has touched." So many of you here knew my dad and understand that he wasn't an athlete or a coach, but he still got inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. He wasn't measured by his wins or losses, his points per game, yards per catch, championships. He wasn't measured by Hall of Fame recognition or the naming of a gymnasium. But he earned the highest marks in the measure of giving, compassion, honesty, humility, sacrifice, and hard work. And I think most of you here know that. So it's the biggest honor to be inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame because of your character and not because of being an athlete or coach. Our family was really honored that you guys did that and inducted him based on his character. So thank you. Sorry. Dad's famous quote that we all knew is that you can't do enough for the people you love, and he loved everyone. And that's why he's inducted into this Hall of Fame, because he loved all the people that he was able to come into contact with. I think all of us, if we did a little bit more of that, could make this world just a little bit of a better place. God bless you all, and thank you very much.
Just stay up here.
Thank you, Chris, for those words about your father. Let you come over here. Okay, I'd like to present to Chris the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame class of 2019 to Dr. Michael Johnson. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And this is a record of what's happening today and also what we're seeing on the television screens.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to honor Don Kell, deceased, and the presenter is his brother, Tom.
Thank you. Just to give you an idea what the way I'm doing this is Don's wife Christine and his 4 children wrote out what they wanted to say about their about Don and his induction, and I'm going to read it, and I'll add a few things of my own somewhere along the line. This is Christine. I'm not going to imitate the way Christine talks. Don would have been honored to be inducted into the Crawford County Athletic Hall of Fame. He would have congratulated all the other inductees. Though we moved to the Cincinnati area to be near family, Don always considered Crawford County home. We would make the 5.5 to 6 hour round trip to Bucyrus every month for our couples card club. Interestingly, two of his high school basketball teammates, Tom Schreck and Greg Schiffer, were in our card club. Don's teammates from high school and college became lifelong friends. And I know Don would want to honor coaches John Short and Jim Bauer for all the help that they gave him. As a cheerleader at Capitol, where Don is also in the Hall of Fame, I know Don scoring over 1,000 points in his college career was impressive. However, the fact that there was no three-pointer at the time made it even more impressive. In sports, as in life, Don always did what he felt was fair, and I asked our 4 adult children to share some of their memories of their dad. Donnie, sitting down here to the left, said, unbeknownst to most, basketball was not Dad's best sport. He was a magnificently dominant wrestler. Whether it was one-on-one or all 4 of his kids taking him on, he was the king of the ring. Even the occasional run around the house, not so secret attack from behind tactic didn't work. He was invincible. It's funny when you sit down to write and all these latent memories come to you like a flooding torrent. Like my siblings, I remember open gyms, baseball games in Nevada, basketball at the Y, Ohio High School State Championships, road trips for Dad's Guardian team, etc. I loved hearing stories about Capitol or watching him play with the YMCA and Guardian teams. What I'm most proud of, though, is the time he spent coaching us as kids. He coached us in baseball and basketball and was great for advice in football, volleyball, accounting, homework, etc. I'll never forget Dad teaching me how to throw a changeup holding the ball like an OK symbol. I'd look over to him in the dugout, and when he'd hold up his hand giving me the OK, I knew what to throw. As a kid, it felt like a cool code only my dad and I knew. That was special. Another favorite memory is going to the Willard 3-on-3 tournament. Tim, you remember those. Every year. It was amazing to see how many people knew Dad, and equally as impressive were the stories he'd tell about other players and what they did in high school and college. We loved watching Dad play, but the real treat was when he'd give Mandy, Danny, David, and I money to go get ice cream. As adults, we all get the ulterior motive there. The best was getting to play in the family division. First with Dad, Uncle Tommy, I'm Uncle Tommy, and Uncle Butch. And second, getting it to do it years later with Dad, Danny, and David. This is Don's younger son, Danny. Said, my childhood memories of my dad are inextricably tied to basketball. I always loved tagging along to basketball games he played in. Whether it was a Whitford Open Gym, a YMCA basketball league game, or a Guardian team road trip, I knew I was going to have fun. Uncle Tommy was often there. I probably watched some of the basketball, but I mostly remember running wild around the gym and locker rooms. If we had driven far, we'd usually stop and get a soda on the way home, which was a thrill. I remember going to Findlay a lot, and that felt like a huge city. I'm going to interject here because one of my favorite stories is when we played in Findlay. There was one night when Don and I rode up together, and I drove, and when we left, as Danny said, a lot of times we would get a pop and some chips on the way home. Well, Danny was along that night sitting in the back seat of my car, and I learned a lesson from Don, and a fatherhood lesson from Don that night, because when Danny said he was all done with his Mountain Dew, he handed it up to Don, and it was dark out, and Don was about ready to take a swig out of the Mountain Dew, and he said, wait a minute, turn the light on. And I know it's right after dinner, and you might not want to hear this, but he held it up, and there was a lot of potato chips in there. So I learned turn the light on before you do things. So I thought that was interesting that Danny put that in there, because that is one of my favorite stories. Sometimes Sometimes they'd play at small colleges, and I remember at least once getting to stay in a motel on a weekend tournament trip. That felt like Disneyland. But it also felt like Vegas because they were all playing poker in the adjoining room. As I got older, Dad and Larry Morrison coached me and my best friends every year in the Y Youth Leagues. I remember at practices, he would often demonstrate a play or a situation and finish it with a shot. It seemed like he never missed. Probably my favorite basketball memory of my dad was when I was in the 8th grade. I was still going to Sunday night games at the Y from time to time. One particular week, I didn't want to miss because he was playing against my then basketball coach, Brett Simmermacher's team. They were the hot team and much younger than Dad's team. Dad was 42, and I don't know how old Dan Gerhardt, Tom Kell, Larry Morrison, Chuck Gerhardt, and Rob Sheldon were, but they were definitely older and slower than this team. That night, Dad got a hot from behind the arc and scored 50, and they won, and it kind of blew my mind. Now that I'm over 40, I think I appreciate it even more. I think Todd Martin played with Brett Simmermacher, so that gives you an idea. That was pretty amazing. And this is for Mandy, some of my earliest memories involve watching my dad play basketball. I loved watching him play with his Guardian team. Although I don't have a memory of this, I've often heard the story of when I decided to walk across the court with my doll during a fast break and they had to halt the game. I remember going to open gyms at Winford. Many times Dad had to walk me through the boys' locker room while covering my eyes because that was the only way to get in. I especially loved going to Capitol games and hearing Dad tell stories about his playing days there. It always amazed me how he could remember specific details and scores of games he had played. Going to state tournaments and feeling proud to be with him because he seemed to know everybody. Dad loved basketball, but he loved his family more. And it was really special when family and basketball came together, and that was when Dad was our coach. He coached each of us kids, and what was most important to him was that the kids got equal playing time and learned the game of basketball. It wasn't about the wins. Out of all the memories I have of him in basketball, my favorite is when he coached our son, his only grandson, for 2 years. He took such pride in those kids, and it made his relationship with Jackson even more special. And even though basketball was clearly Dad's favorite sport, he and Mom both always supported us and our kids in everything we did, whether it was volleyball, band concerts, plays, cheer competitions, dance recitals, or football. It didn't matter, they were there. I'm so proud that Dad is being given this honor, but I'm most proud that he was my dad. Then David, some of my best memories of Dad are basketball related, and a lot of them are from the Y. Saturdays we played and he coached. He was the one who made sure everyone got the same amount of playing time. I remember him running the same play over and over until James, who hadn't scored a bucket all season, finally scored. Sundays he played and we joined the layup line. Y's funeral home never lost. It was, with our ages, we always thought it was quite appropriate that Y's funeral home was our sponsor. I remember seeing him get kicked out of the game once, which was pretty cool. I think the ref's name was Benny. Wednesdays, he played in the over 30 league, which seemed so old at the time. But by far, my best basketball memory with him was skipping school to go to the state tournament. He is the reason I love basketball as much as I do, and the reason that whenever a big sports moment happens, I still get that split-second thought of, I want to talk to Dad about this. It was my good fortune to watch Don's career at Likens, Woodford, and Capitol. I still remember watching Likens win the junior high county championship at Mount Zion over Crawford. There were so many great games during his 2 years of varsity at Winford. I remember Don only scored 1 point in his first game as a junior. After that, he averaged almost 25 points per game the rest of his career. I think it was Jim Bauer at his retirement that said, it seems like you remember the losses more than the wins. And that, for me, 2 games, both losses, stick out for Don's career at Winthrop. The night he had 39 against Cary, and that game ended up in a big melee in the fight, but Cary won. And the district final his senior year when St. Pete beat us on the last second shot and went on to win the state championship, and nobody ever came close to him from there on. So those 2 games really have stuck with me, even though they were losses. My mom always said, she always had a thing when we'd lose a game or something like that would happen. She'd say, well, 20 years from now, you'll never know the difference. Well, let me tell you, it's been 45 and I still remember. At Capitol, there were OAC championships, an NCAA appearance, and all conference and all American honors for many individual honors for Don. It was pretty nice having a brother playing who was the best player on the floor most nights. And as a kid, I had a classmate once asked me for my brother's autograph, and that was quite a deal. I wasn't quite ready for that. Don could rebound and defend with the best of them, but his jump shot was a thing of beauty. And if they had a 3-point line, he'd have had hundreds of more points. After watching his career, I got the added opportunity to play together with Don, and as the kids have alluded to, at the Y on a Guardian Industries sponsored our adult league team for many years, and we had so many great memories. The kids all talked about some of those games and their memories. Many of those years I was not a father yet, so I learned from Don as a father. One thing I hadn't really thought about until I put this together was, basketball wasn't really a big thing at our house, as I recall growing up until Don played. I can remember my dad scolding my brother John after a basketball game that he came home complaining about the referees cost us the game. And I remember my dad doing that. And then I remember just a few years later, my dad ripping the referees all over the place. I remember that changed quite a bit after Don started playing. And so I guess what I wanted to say is that Don and many had made basketball really a huge part of our family. And I really hadn't thought about that until I put this together. But it's been such a big part of his kids' life, my kids' lives, my life, and it really was because of his love of the game. And then Christine just wanted to, in conclusion, say, like Mandy, she and her brothers are all proud that their dad is being given this honor. But they are most proud that Don was their dad. And like David, we all have our moments when we just want to talk to Don again. Thank you.
Okay, I have here from the Crawford County Sports Hall of Fame, class of 2019, to Don Kell, and Donnie receiving the plaque on behalf of his dad.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this provided also that's on the screens.
Thank you.
really special to be a part of these inductees moments. I don't know of any other county that in our immediate area that honors their athletes as Crawford County does. Many schools have their Hall of Fame, and the individual schools honor those that have excelled. But as a county, I think we are very unique. Okay, our next inductee is Travis Moyer, and I do have to mention that I was very privileged to have known Travis as he grew up in the Crestline schools, Crestline High School especially, and he was a favorite of the coaches because he was ever so coachable, and he led by example. You know, it's nice to have a rah-rah guy on the team. But Travis just went out and got the job done. And in his own way, encouraged everybody around him to just click it up a notch. He was a very special player. Okay, Travis, it takes 3 young men to present you. And the first one is, help me, Caleb?
Peyton.
Okay, the first one is Peyton.
I am here today to celebrate the 2016 Hall of Fame class and to introduce to you my father, Travis Moyer, for his accomplishments in athletics and coaching. I am his oldest son and a member of his football team. I have seen firsthand what he can do as a coach and as one of the most important groups of people out there, a father. A coach and a father are similar in many ways. They both have the goal of bringing the best out of every member of their team. I watch him do this every day for my brothers, my mom, and the 100 other members of our football program. He pushes us to be the very best, and most importantly, he loves us on our best and worst days. He is my greatest coach, and the reason I work so hard, not only in athletics, but academics and in life. I think the hard work gene was handed down from my grandparents. My dad has many accomplishments. Just read his biography in the program. He also has a few losses and has failed many times. But there's one thing for certain, he will never be outworked, which I think is the true key to his success. I am honored to have the Moyer name and lucky to call you not only my coach, but my dad. Congratulations, I love you.
Thank you, Peyton. Okay, Caleb?
Yep.
How about that?
Dear Dad, I'm thankful we made it here today. Your last Hall of Fame induction you had to miss because of me. I was born the day before, and in true Caleb fashion, I had to take my own sweet time and spent the next day, 10 days in the hospital, and you never left my side. Dad, you are a very inspiring person to me and my biggest role model, besides Michael Jordan and Peyton Manning, obviously. Your accomplishments on paper are pretty amazing. You held an 86-game regular season winning streak and have won 15 out of 20 league championships. But all of your accomplishments aren't what makes you so great, because people don't get to see what I get to see. Most people don't get to have a front row seat to Travis Moyer when no one is watching. I've watched him go to grocery stores with kids, lead fundraisers for families, help players during their hardest times. I can't even begin to count the amount of football players who have sat around our kitchen table for dinner. You are truly deserving of this honor, and this is the part where most sons would say, I want to be just like you, but not me. Yes, all of your athletic records are impressive, but I want to shatter every record you and Uncle Trevor have ever held. And the best part is, you'll be right by my side next year, as I'll be a freshman on your football team. I can't wait to see how much patience you have left. You were the best person to teach me football and to show me how to put in the hard work when no one is watching. I love you, and congrats on the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Tyler?
Dad, you are my best friend. My favorite time with you is football season. You let me go to every practice and every Friday night game. You even gave me my own jersey, helmet, and locker. Running out on the field with you and the team is every kid's dream, and I get to live it every Friday night. I can't wait to grow up and be a Redskin football player with you as my coach. Congrats on the Hall of Fame. I love you, Dad.
Peyton, Caleb, and Tyler, good job.
Wow, what a really awesome dad moment. Peyton is a sophomore. He plays football and has earned a varsity letter on our track team this last spring. I had the privilege of putting him in as my first son in a varsity football game this season. This is a situation where we were up in the game and I called him over and I was gonna have one of those another proud dad moments, and he came over and I said, Pete, you're going in the game. He says, I know, I gotta go, Dad. And he ran onto the field. So, but you know, he's also a member of the robotics team that qualified for state this last winter. During his 8th grade year, during COVID, he wrote a book. He's hopeful that it gets published before he graduates from high school. So, really proud of him. Kell is in the 8th grade. He's involved in baseball, basketball, track, and football. He plays quarterback on our junior high team that went undefeated the last 2 years. And he's promised to help bring us our first state championship, so I'm gonna hold him to that. So obviously I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure back onto him. Tyler is in the 5th grade. Unfortunately for us, he broke his leg about 1.5 years ago. It's been a long process, but really proud of him, of how he's handled it. He plays all the sports, football, basketball, baseball as well. And he's a part of the Ambassador Club. Camden, our 1st grader, he's excited for Max to arrive back to our house for Christmas. Max is our elf on the shelf. And he spent most of his time the last couple weeks putting together his Christmas list, so we're proud of him. So they're really thankful that they got their looks and their brains from their mama. But it's great to be home. You know, just being here tonight, we don't get much or back much, and just seeing some familiar faces, it feels good. I've got 2 teachers here that taught me in high school, Mrs. Halbert and Mrs. Hargis. You know, 2 teachers that cared deeply about their students. They were fair, but they were hard. And Mrs. Hargis, I want you to know I had to work really, really hard to get that B in your class. So, Don Miller, obviously got to see Don earlier tonight. Don's a very dear friend to our family. You know, something you might not know about Don is that every Friday we would make a game day run when I was the athletic director, and I was the head football coach, and we'd have to run errands to get ready for that game that night. And if you know anything about Don and his personality, you know, we were really fortunate to be really successful at Winford, but after that car ride, if we didn't play well the week before, you'd have felt like we lost a lot of games in a row. So, but Don's true passion, Winford person, loves Winford, and can't say enough about that. Ron Sand, where are you, Sam, man? You know, Ron would come out and help us paint the field. No, let me change that. Ron would come out and watch Mike, his brother, and I paint the fields. But you know, Ron obviously very dear to the Winford community, and his brother Mike, big part of our family, and can't say him enough. And I know he's looking down tonight happy because those Browns won today. So Mike Hoffman, I saw you slide in here. Hoffy, very dear friend to our family. I can't say enough about the times that him and I just sat and talked, and just very, very important to our family, and just can't say enough about him. David, Hirsch, Jimmy G, thank you for coming out, being here tonight. We've spent a lot of time together over the years, and you know, I speak to those guys weekly, and even though we don't see each other very much, I just can't say enough about their friendship and us growing up. And you know, it was a few years ago that we were back in those Pinewood apartments having a good time for a while. So, but want to thank them. I would like to congratulate tonight's inductees. I'm honored to be inducted in the class of 2019, especially with my fellow Winford Royals. To the family of Don Kell. Don was a part of the Board of Education that gave me my first opportunity as a teacher and head football coach at Winford. I will forever be grateful to him and the other board members for that opportunity. To the family of Dr. Mike Johnson. Mike was our team doctor for many years at Winford. He had an enormous impact on our community and is one of the most respected men I've ever had the privilege to be around. Chris, I know how proud he is of you. To the Hall of Fame committee, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. It is truly an honor and humbling experience to be here tonight. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed, and none of this would be possible without your vision to make this experience a reality. I was fortunate to play in a football program under the guidance of Coach DiPietro, which had a strong winning football tradition. My grandfather, father, uncles, cousins, and brother all participated in this program. There was a great sense of pride among our family to be a part of such a storied tradition. One day, my father brought home an old beat-up football that he found in the junkyard. He gave it to me, and it was the first time I handled a real varsity football. I was excited, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I will never forget that football because it symbolized the start of my football career. It was given to me a little flat, which represented my lack of speed. It was worn, which symbolized all the hard work, dedication, and sweat it took for me to be the best player that I could be. The ball had some imperfections, which symbolized my lack of physical attributes. But no one ever matched my drive and determination to want to succeed. I often get asked the question, how did you know that you wanted to be a coach? I always had a strong passion for athletics. I came to the realization that I was undersized and not fast enough to play for the Ohio State Buckeyes. That I too wanted to be a part of the Cradle of coaches to come out of Crestline. Crestline, although small, had great heritage of coaches. I would turn on the television and see names like Gottfried and Harbaugh. I would walk in the high school gymnasium and you would feel the presence of Coach Hudson's pitcher looking down on you from above. I was privileged to have the opportunity to play for a Hall of Fame coach in Coach DiPietro, a man who will always be known to me as Coach. I was fortunate to have Coach Runny as a defensive position coach. He taught me the fundamentals of linebacker play and showed me the importance of being loyal to a program. Coach Bauer showed me the importance of organization and the power of believing in someone. Coach Smith showed me that there is more than a game and that being there for someone can make a difference to them the rest of their life. I want to thank all of my former coaches who I had a privilege to play for. To Winford's former assistant principal, athletic director, and head basketball coach, Rob Sheldon. Now, Durf, I understand with all those job titles why he had to take vacation throughout the school year. I will never forget sitting in his office and him offering me the head football coaching position. I was young, probably a little naive, and overjoyed with excitement. The one thing that sticks with me to this day is what Rob said to me. He said, "We cannot let you fail." He didn't just care about Winford football, he cared about me as a person. A lesson that I feel is the foundation to any successful program. The basketball program set the standard of success at Winford. I knew that that was the exact type of program that I wanted to replicate and what I wanted to strive to achieve as a head coach. I learned very early on in my career, you win with people. The OHSAA does not allow us coaches to recruit players, but there isn't really a rule about recruiting the best coaches to work with our players. I know this firsthand the importance of having great assistant coaches. As a young, first-time head coach, I would have never survived or had the success that I had without Mike Hartz, Scott Langendorfer, or Larry Morrison. All three brought a wealth of experience and knowledge to our program. They really deserve a lot of credit for our success in laying the foundation for our program during my tenure as head football coach. It was my objective to bring the best people to Wintford to work with our young people. We were blessed to have coaches who were not only talented at coaching the game of football, but truly cared about our players and each other. I understand the sacrifice my assistant coaches make to our program to be successful. I will forever be grateful for each and every one of them. I'm proud to say that one of our assistants, Gabe Hilbert, took over for me when I decided to leave. To every player who wore the blue and gray uniform, thank you. None of this would be possible without you and your commitment to excellence and willingness to buy and